Hansel and Gretel.
Once upon a time, in a cozy little cottage nestled deep in the heart of the forest, lived a poor woodcutter and his wife and his 2 children, a boy named Hansel and a girl named Gretel. He had but little to eat, and once, when a great famine came to the land, he could no longer provide even their daily bread. One evening, as he was lying in bed worrying about his problems, he sighed and said to his wife,
"What is to become of us? How can we feed our children when we have nothing for ourselves?"
"I will tell you what, husband,"
answered the stepmother.
"we will take the children early in the morning into the forest, where it is thickest. We will make them a fire, and we will give each of them a piece of bread. Then we will go to our work and leave them alone. They will never find the way home again, and we will be rid of them."
"No, wife,"
said the man.
"I will not do that. How could I bring myself to abandon my own children alone in the woods?"
"Oh, you fool! Then all 4 of us will starve,"
she said, and she gave him no peace until he agreed. The 2 children had not been able to fall asleep because of their hunger, and they heard what the stepmother had said to the father. Gretel cried bitter tears and said to Hansel,
"It is over with us!"
"Be quiet, Gretel,
said Hansel.
and don't worry. I know what to do."
And when the parents had gone to sleep, he got up, opened the back door, and slipped out. The moon was shining brightly, and the white pebbles that lay in front of the house glistened like pieces of silver. Hansel filled the little pocket of his coat as full as it would hold. Then he went back again and said to Gretel,
"Be easy, dear little sister, and go to sleep quietly. God will not forsake us."
On the next morning, the wife came and awakened the 2 children, saying,
"Get up, you lazy bones. We are going into the forest to cut wood."
Then she gave each of them a piece of bread and said,
"That is for dinner, and you must not eat it before then, for you will get no more."
Then they set off all together on their way to the forest. Hansel had been taking every now and then a pebble from his pocket and dropping it on the road. When they arrived in the middle of the woods, the father said,
"You children gather some wood, and I will make a fire so you won't freeze."
Hansel and Gretel gathered some twigs, and they were set on fire. When the flame was burning quite high, the wife said,
"Now lie down by the fire and rest yourselves, you children. We will go and cut wood, and when we are ready, we will come back and get you."
Hansel and Gretel sat by the fire. When midday came, each one ate his little piece of bread. After they had sat there a long time, their eyes grew weary and closed, and they fell sound asleep. When they finally awoke, it was dark at night. Gretel began to cry and said,
"How will we get out of woods?"
Hansel comforted her.
"Wait a little until the moon comes up, and then we'll find the way."
After the full moon had come up, Hansel took his little sister by the hand. They followed the pebbles that glistened there like newly minted coins, showing them the way. They walked throughout the entire night, and as morning was breaking, they arrived at the father's house. They knocked on the door, and when the woman opened it and saw that it was Hansel and Gretel, she said,
"You naughty children, why did you sleep so long in the woods? We thought that you did not want to come back."
But the father was overjoyed when he saw his children once more, for he had not wanted to leave them alone. Not long afterward, there was once again great need everywhere, and one evening the children heard the stepmother say to the father,
"We have again eaten up everything. We have only a half loaf of bread. We must get rid of the children. We will take them deeper into the woods so they will not find their way out. Otherwise, there will be no help for us."
The man was very disheartened, but again his wife succeeded in convincing him. The children were still awake and had overheard the conversation. This time the stepmother had locked the door, so Hansel could not get out to gather pebbles as he had done before. But he comforted his little sister and said,
"Don't cry, Gretel. Sleep well. God will help us."
Early the next morning the stepmother came and got the children from their beds. They received their little pieces of bread, even less than the last time. On the way to the woods, Hansel crumbled his piece in his pocket, then often stood still and threw breadcrumbs onto the ground. Little by little, Hansel dropped all the crumbs onto the path. The woman took them deeper into the woods than they had ever been in their whole lifetime.
"Sit here, children. If you get tired, you can sleep a little. We are going into the woods to cut wood. We will come and get you in the evening when we are finished."
The dad was sad again to leave his kids. When it was midday, Gretel shared her bread with Hansel, who had scattered his piece along the path. Then they fell asleep, and evening passed, but no one came to get the poor children. It was dark at night when they awoke, and Hansel comforted Gretel and said,
Wait, when the moon comes up, I will be able to see the crumbs of bread that I scattered, and they will show us the way back home.
When the moon appeared, they got up, but they could not find any crumbs of bread, for the birds that fly about in the woods and in the fields had picked them up. Hansel said to Gretel,
We will find our way.
but they did not find it. They walked through the entire night and the next day from morning until evening, but they did not find their way out of the woods. They were terribly hungry. As they were walking in the woods, they saw a candy house that was built of bread, cakes, and candies.
We will have some of this.
Said Hansel. They approached the candy house. Then the door creaked open, revealing a kind old woman with a twinkle in her eye. The old woman said,
Oh, dear children, you found my candy house. I've been waiting for you.
Hansel and Gretel were amazed. The old woman invited them inside, and they enjoyed delicious candies and sweets. But the old woman had only pretended to be friendly. She was a wicked witch who was lying in wait there for children. She had built her house of candies only in order to lure them to her.
Now I have them. They will not get away from me again. They will be a good mouthful.
She mumbled to herself. Early the next morning, she grabbed Hansel with her withered hand and locked him behind a cage door. Cry as he might, there was no help for him. Then she shook Gretel and cried,
Get up, lazy bones. Fetch water and cook something good for your brother. He is locked in a cage and is to be fattened up. When he is fat, I am going to eat him.
Gretel began to cry, but it was all for nothing. She had to do what the witch demanded. Every morning the old woman approached the cage and shouted,
Hansel, stick out your finger so I can feel if you're fat yet.
But Hansel stuck out a little bone, and the old woman, who had bad eyes and could not see the bone, thought it was Hansel's finger, and she wondered why he didn't get fat. The next morning Gretel had to get up early, hang up the kettle with water, and make a fire.
First we are going to bake,
said the witch.
I have already made a fire in the oven and kneaded the dough. Check if it is hot enough to put the bread in yet.
But Gretel suddenly got an idea. She said,
I don't know how to do that. How can I check how hot it is?
Stupid girl,
said the old woman.
The opening is big enough. See? I myself could get in and feel it.
And she crawled up, stuck her head into the oven. Then Gretel gave her a shove, causing her to fall in. Gretel ran away, and the witch burned up miserably. Gretel ran straight to Hansel, unlocked him, and cried,
Hansel, we are saved! The old witch is dead!
They both jumped with joy. In every corner of the witch's house were chests of pearls and precious stones.
These are better than pebbles.
Said Hansel, filling his pockets. Gretel said,
I will take some home with me as well.
They wanted to get out of the woods. After walking a few hours, the woods grew more and more familiar to them, and finally they saw the father's house in the distance. They began to run and rushed inside. Their father was overjoyed when he saw them. They were surprised that their stepmother had died. Hansel and Gretel gave their father all the pearls and precious stones they got from the witch's house. They had enough food for years. Their father's heart was full of joy, and he knew that their bond as a father and children was stronger than ever, and they all lived happily ever after.
Please like and subscribe to our channel for more stories.